The ever-thoughtless average human thinks that sexual promiscuity leaves no damaging effects unless one of the participants is diseased. Mr. Average Man would be shocked to learn that the very self-pattern of his racial ideal, his emotions, his bloodstream, his individual ideal, and his very character is degenerated by choosing the wrong mate and by every promiscuous sexual experience. Electrical connections between any two unequally sexually unbalanced bloodstreams means also an electrically unbalanced nervous system and body cells. Nerve sensations centering in the brain affect the dynamism of a person. They also affect all decisions, both spiritual and physical. Consider, therefore, the spiritual and physical damage caused to the body and to the soul pattern by unbalanced nerve oscillations reaching the brain from the body. Every separate cell of the body has a direct connection with the brain. If all of the body cells oscillate in unequal pulsations, imagine the terrific damage unknowingly done to the nervous system by so huge a multiplication of unbalanced messages reaching the brain from so many unequally balanced body cells. Blindness, deafness, arthritis, and many other ills arise from such electrical unbalance, and the body ages very rapidly. The urge of body cells upon the brain is sometimes so much greater than the control of the brain upon the body cells that a man's willpower is often controlled entirely by this urge of the body cells. Instance, a man whose brain tells him he must not and does not wish to kill, but he kills because of an uncontrollable urge. He cannot help it. He is but an automaton, obeying distorted messages sent to his brain by body cells which become frightfully distorted in pattern. It is therefore of vital importance in the building of the pattern of the individual that the cell urge is under the control of the conscious spirit in man rather than that in the cells of the body. This can only be possible if the electrical interchange between sex mates is so equal that one can forget his body entirely, as all geniuses do. Freedom from body is necessary for those who do creative work. Any inequality or unlikeness whatsoever leaves a residue of electrical unbalance, which evidences itself in many intensities, from slightly neurotic conditions arising from the unbalance due to repressions, pessimism, fanaticism, and insanity, to committing violent murder. These residual unbalances accumulate in time and force their victims to seek balance at any cost. The insane asylums have all too many of these sex-dissatisfied and abnormal mismatings. One of nature's characteristics is the development of pattern forms, which we call species, types, races, or breeds. Nature's manner of repeating these unfolding species of things is the splitting of their patterns into two electrically balanced, equal, harmonious opposite halves, and then mating those equal halves in order to electrically reproduce other equal pairs of halves by nature's automatic processes in her use of electric waves. We call this division of nature into pairs of mates a sex division. We call the unions of the sexes matings. Nature creates her pure species of separate kinds of things by controlling the division into pairs of equal halves of the same electrically recorded patterns, and the matings of similarly balanced equal halves. Through her connecting lines of magnetic flux, nature telegraphs to all unfolding creatures her inviolate laws. They are recorded in them as instinct, or are otherwise sensed, and every living creature, except those to whom free will has been given, instinctively obeys that holiest of all of nature's laws, the law of equal mating of harmoniously patterned halves. Nature's control over the lower orders of creative expression, such as in the chemical elements, is plainly indicated in their crystallization. Every truly balanced mating of equal halves crystallizes as a true cube, while the slightest deviation in balance departs from the cube. Sex is not yet recognized as characteristic of the elements. It is supposedly limited to the organic or living things of creation. Sex is the fundamental principle of creation. Everything comes into the appearance of existence by the union of two opposite halves of a unit pattern, and everything repeats itself by the division of a unit into its positive and negative expressions. This is as true of the elements of matter as it is of animal and vegetable life. The sex matings of the elements exactly coincide in effect with the sex matings of humans. Violent explosions in the elements have the same basic cause as such violent explosions as murder in humans. Terrific electric unbalance is the cause of both. Likewise, stability in the elements and in humans has the same cause in equality of balance. Sodium and chlorine are good examples of positive and negative opposites of a pair which are equally but oppositely balanced with each other, and each equally unbalanced with its fulcrum equator. If these two chemical elements marry, they become such perfectly balanced and stable mates that the chemists call them affinities. The chemists call the one thing which results from this marriage sodium chloride. You call it table salt. If you examine a crystal of table salt under a magnifying glass, you will find its pattern to be a true cube. The cube is the ultimate, the perfect balance in crystal pattern. If all the humans of one nation should mate together as carefully as sodium and chlorine, that nation would produce a race so vastly superior to all other mismated nations that the difference might well be as great as between Shakespeare and a ditch digger. Now let us consider a chemical mismating. Sodium could choose bromine or iodine or fluorine for a wife. Each of them would be good mates because all are in the same chemical group, but each in different octaves, like similar notes on a piano, and therefore would have a slightly unsatisfactory sexual interchange. When these slightly unequal, unbalanced mates marry and have sex relations, both sex conditions are not completely voided. The stronger one is quite satisfied, but the other is not. Some unbalance still remains with the weaker one, and because of this mismating, the crystal record is not a true one. Its pattern is distorted by just the amount of potential which still remains unsatisfied. If one examines sodium iodine and sodium bromine crystals, one sees the gradually increasing irregularity of cubic distortions as the inequality increases. Exactly the same thing occurs with humans and all other species. Like mates of equal opposite charges reproduce true to the pattern of both. Unlike and unequally charged mates reproduce in distorted patterns. Unlike opposites cannot be balanced sex mates, even if these mates have a strong sexual urge for each other. The effect of any unlike qualities in either one would be degenerative to both, just as overindulgence in drinking in either mate would degenerate both mentally and physically. Neither one can preserve his or her pattern undefiled if one half of the current of their mutual sex interchange is defiled. Physical attraction alone is not a sufficient guide to choosing true mates, for upon examination of that attraction, the urge may be lustful and sensuous rather than uplifting and inspiring.